Power to the truth. This is Margo. This is Wednesday, January 2nd, 2019. It's 3:47 p.m. Pacific Time, United States of America. What I'm showing you to start out with today, we're going to do an earthquake report, but I got a couple of things to show you first. I've got ozone pulled up on cams, and this is from today. Total column, and this is the global view. And what I wanted to show you was this hole that's over the Pacific and coming on over, getting bigger, and now there's a hole developing over the southern United States, covering all the southern states, like looks like South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, part of Texas, most of Florida, and so people who live in those areas, you want to be extra careful about going out into the sun without protection, because the UV rays are going to be just ripping right through. This is at 200 Dobson units. It's quite low. It's down here on the scale, 200, and then the next up is 220 Dobson units is the aqua, so that's quite thin as well. And the green is thin too. Anything under yellow is considered under average. So this is just a danger, and we see the ozone in the mid-latitudes quite thin, and I'm thinking this developing here in the southern United States is as a result of the sulfur dioxide coming up from the volcanoes going off in Mexico, and it's coming up and around and dispersing. So there's that. And I wanted to show you NASA Worldview next. And this is, here's Italy, here's Mount Etna, this is Sicily. There's some smoke coming out of it here in this satellite view, but especially what I wanted to show you was the beaming here all the way across the Mediterranean, over northern Africa. Look at how it just follows, it comes down and around, and this is so obvious with the beaming. And so, you know, is it connected to earthquakes? Probably. Is it connected to volcanoes? Probably. I don't see why not. And that beaming can not only be heating up the atmosphere, but it can be going into the earth and heating up the earth itself, which would heat up the magma and the water and, you know, cook it. We're being cooked. We're being cooked alive here. Here's some more evidence of the beaming over here too. It's just it's a very highly beamed area. And remember, we saw the spraying over here in the Mediterranean. I'm not really seeing that right now, but you know, there are stripes here which could be evidence of a different frequency than what's down here. But there's that. And now I'd like to go over to YouTube and just share a couple of the comments that have come in. And this was from my report from yesterday. The first one that came in is from very nice lady, Marcia Noren, And she says, thank you for your thorough monitoring of all these things, Margo. Wishing you an insightful, peaceful, blessed new year. And I say thank you for being here, Marcia. I really appreciate you and your gentle spirit. God bless you. And, you know, I just love you, Marcia. You're just... I did get to speak with you that one time on my Campfire Chats with Margo show episode. I think it was episode 2. And I just, a lot can come through in someone's voice, and I feel like I know you and like your sister, and thank you. I appreciate your support and being there, and it makes a difference. And then Anthony Sheffman says, thank you, Margo. On New Year's Eve, I drove 300 miles from Pennsylvania to New York, and it was an absolute nightmare for the entire 300 miles. Just an absolute nasty storm, and the rain never stopped for a second. Have a great day. And I said, glad you made it safely, Anthony. And yeah, the storms can be brutal up there. And it's I actually lived in northeastern Pennsylvania for 4.5 years, 5 winters, and that was enough for me. And I couldn't take it. Yeah, I didn't fit in. It's a long story. So thank you for those comments. And I'm going to change the backdrop page here while we go into our earthquake report. First of all, in the last 24 hours, we've had 231 earthquakes of all magnitudes worldwide, so we can see that the number has gone up. So, like I said, my theory was that during the holidays, a lot of people go home who would be contributing to some of these earthquakes, and so that's why we don't have as many for whatever reason. And now that they're back at work, we're back up. So let's start with, though, the last 24 hours at 2.5 magnitude and higher, and then we'll go to the smaller earthquakes. I'd like to start up here in Alaska. Right here, okay, nothing in the northern part, but right here we have 11 earthquakes at 2.5 magnitude and higher, and so I'm just going to call them off and you'll see them light up on the map. So what you're going to see is that they are getting bigger up here, and here was the most recent. We'll go to the most recent and then going down. 3.0 Big Lake, 4.2 Anchorage. That one came in at 7:16 this morning. 3.0 Big Lake, 3.1 Big Lake, 2.6 Willow, 2.7 Big Lake, 4.8 Kodiak Station right down here. That one was 62 kilometers deep. 2.5 Old Iliamna, 2.6 Talkeetna, 2.6 Talkeetna, 3.3 Big Lake. So those are getting up there. While we're up there, I'll go ahead and look at the smaller ones as well. And okay, nothing up there. So now it's showing 48 total in Alaska. So out of the 48, 11 of them were 2.5 magnitude and higher according to USGS. So you can see they're all peppered around here, and still a whole bunch of them clustering here in the Anchorage area. So a lot in the ones range. So I just wanted everyone to be aware of that it's slowing down, but they're not out of the woods yet. Now, going back to our 2.5 magnitude and higher, going across the Pacific, over here, there was a 4.5 off the coast of Kamchatka, 10 kilometers deep. That was at 5 o'clock this morning, Pacific time. Then here's a 4.1 on land, 69 kilometers northeast of Yelazovo, Russia, 20 kilometers deep. That could be big enough to cause some kind of damage depending on the area, but when you zoom in, it's kind of a mountain there, so I don't know if that's a populated area or not. It looks like it's on the mountain to me. Tune in to Dutch Sense and I'm sure he'll give you all the details on that. And then last night we had a 5.0, 71 kilometers west-southwest of Sangin, Dale, Mongolia, 10 kilometers deep, right up there. Then over here, there was a 4.3 at Lar, Iran, 10 kilometers deep, and a 4.8 at Borajan, Iran, 10 kilometers deep. That's all that's showing up over there. Then let's come down here to the South Pacific. 4.6 at Caburan, Philippines, 55 kilometers deep. That was in the ocean. Over here, right, okay, remember this is Java, this is Sumatra, and Krakatoa is right here, right up here. Remember that? Here it is. And by the way, Krakatoa is going off again. And here was a big earthquake to the west of Krakatoa that was a 5.0, and it was 34 kilometers deep, and it happened at 5:40 this morning Pacific time. So that probably could be as a result of the magma flowing back and forth from Krakatoa. So that's probably connected there. I didn't see that a tsunami had happened because of that, though. Here's a 4.9, 89 kilometers south of Bawal Atas, Indonesia, 60 kilometers deep, down here in the ocean. Then there was one up here on land at Papua New Guinea, 5.0, 188 kilometers west-northwest of Abipura, Indonesia, 46.8 kilometers deep. And that would be 5.0 would be big enough to cause damage if it was in a populated area. And that happened last night, just right at midnight, 23:59, so 1 minute before midnight. last night, Pacific time. Or you can think right at midnight. And nothing else from USGS down there. Now let's hop over to Mexico. This there was one of 4.1 off the coast of Mexico, in southern Mexico. We'll zoom in the Gulf of Tehuantepec, and it was a 4.1, 35 kilometers deep. So it's 65 kilometers south-southeast of San Francisco del Mar, Mexico, is how they're describing it. Now, over here in the Dominican Republic, there were 7 earthquakes that were over 2.5 magnitude or over. I'll just read them off going up. 3.1, 2.8, 3.1, 2.9, 3.1, 3.2, and 2.7. So that's including Puerto Rico and the Dominican Republic. So let's go over to our all magnitudes for that area. So that was 7. So there were 5 more in the smaller range. There's 1.4, 1.7, 1.8, 1.7, and that's it. So there's those. So now let's go up to the United States and we'll be finished. Nothing down in South America. Okay. Nothing up in the Northeast. We've got 2 in Oklahoma. There was a 3.2 at Pawnee, Oklahoma, and a 2.6 at Hennessy, Oklahoma. So that 3.2 is getting up there. Now up here in the Yellowstone region, we've got 1.1 down here on the border, West Yellowstone, Montana, 8.9 kilometers deep. Here's a 2.0 at Clinton, Montana, 1.2 Lincoln, Montana, 1.6 Helena Valley, Northwest, Montana, and a 1.8 at Lincoln, Montana. So remember that this is an area that we're watching because of the Yellowstone caldera and everything. So while we're up here in this northern area, we'll just hop over to Othello, Washington, had a 1.4. And here was an explosion 6 kilometers southwest of Bethel, Washington at minus 0.2 kilometers. So that was probably like they were probably blasting rocks or something up on a hill, with it being a negative depth. But you can see the diamond shape rather than the circle. The diamond shape means that it's a quarry blast or an explosion, and then it lists it over here. So that's a pretty good explosion to cause a 1.3 magnitude earthquake. Now let's come on down to Utah. we've got all of these were all at the same place, right at Monroe. So let's zoom in and see this cluster that's all stacked up here, and I'll call them off at Monroe. They're all at Monroe, Utah. Here, the biggest one was a 2.9 at 7:47 this morning. 1.7, 1.8, 1.3, 1.8. So I don't know what's going on there. They are, some of these are negative depth, like this one. This last one is a 0.9 kilometers negative depth, so it's up in the mountain. Here's a minus 2.1 kilometers negative depth. Here's a minus 2.9. So, you know, that's suspicious to me. And then this was 3 kilometers deep, and that's 7.4 kilometers deep. So unless there's some kind of blasting or you know, work going on where they're moving rocks or something, you know, it seems to me like that would be movement up in the mountain, which would signify magma moving. So I might do some research on that. I'll make a note of that to see what I can find out about that, because we don't normally see that. Okay, moving over to Nevada. Let's start up here. Let's start at actually Northern California and Nevada, and we'll kind of like do a sweep down. Right up here, there was a 0.8 at Big Bend, California. Then 1.5 Greenville, 1.0 Quincy, and a 0.9 Quincy. Then let's go ahead and do the geysers while we're here. 17 of the geysers. They're all under 1 and up to, here's a 2.3. It looks like that's the biggest. So under 1, like a 0.4 up to 2.3. See, all in that area. Now let's sweep over. Here's a 2.0 in the San Francisco area, 2 kilometers west of Orinda, California. Here's a 1.3 at Columbia, California. So we got these. Now let's go over to the Reno area. These are actually at Lake Tahoe. This one was in the middle of the northern part of the lake at 8.1 kilometers deep, and the magnitude is 0 magnitude. So it was a small earthquake. Remember, we do get negative earthquakes, negative magnitudes, and that's different from negative depth. The magnitude is what it would measure on the Richter scale, and when they measure a negative, it has to do with the algorithms. So it was a very small earthquake. And then there was a minus 0.1, so a microquake at Tahoe Vista, 6.3 kilometers deep, and we can see it was right on the edge, actually right out in the water at Carnelian Bay at Tahoe Vista. Well, Tahoe Vista's up here, so it was a little bit further around at Carnelian Bay. So 2 right there. Now that's all we had there. Here's one over here, 0.9, and here's Fernley, and then it was east of Fernley, 35 kilometers east of Fernley, 12.8 kilometers deep. Nothing at Carson City. Here's one south of Gardnerville of 0.8. Then we've got a couple on the California state line of 0.6 and a 0.8. And then we've got a couple over here, 0.7 and a 1.0. They're calling these 26 kilometers south-southwest of Gardnerville, Ranchos, Nevada, but it's actually in California. So that's kind of in that grouping there. Now let's go on down in Nevada. Make sure I don't miss any. Okay, here's a 1.3 at Columbia, California. We're going to be on the east side of the mountains, and then we'll go on the west side to finish up. Okay, we got those. Coming down. 0.9 Hawthorne. This is all in the Hawthorne area. 0.9, 1.1, 0.3. Here's some overlapping. 1.3, 0.4, 0.8, and a 0.3. So quite a few right down there. Okay, I got that one. Then this one across the state line, 1.2 Mammoth Lakes, right next to Mono Lake. Let's finish up Nevada. Here was an explosion at Tonopah, a 1.4 explosion, 3.8 kilometers deep. So for whatever reason they're exploding there. Here's another triangle, a 2.1 explosion, 5 kilometers west of Ely, Nevada, 0 kilometers deep. So that was at the surface. So that was a big explosion, to cause a 2.1. So that's curious as well. So you don't know what's going on. You know, this is mining country too, so it could have to do with mining. I just don't know. I'm just showing you the earthquakes here. But we can see it's a lot more active today. And then as we get further south, this is part of the Area 51 in Nevada test site. And we're actually getting some pretty close to Las Vegas. So let's just go here. 1.5, 0.9, minus 0.1. Let's zoom in. Got a bunch here. Here's a 0, 7 kilometers deep. Minus 0.3, so these are microquakes. Minus 0.2, 0 kilometers deep. 0.5, 4 kilometers deep. Minus 0.5, 9 kilometers deep. 1.1, 7.6 kilometers deep. 0.7 at Pahrump, 13 kilometers deep. And 0.1 further down towards Las Vegas, 0 kilometers deep. So that's curious. And then there's 3 right here. 1.3 at Alamo, 1.3 Caliente, and 1.4 Alamo. So those were at different depths as well. So there's all of those. So let's come on down. Here's Mammoth Lakes, and I'll just call them off down here. We've got 14 in the viewing area here. Well, let's move this up. Got 12 in the viewing area here. We have a 0.5 where it shows up blue. That's the one I'm talking about. 0.9, that was at Goldfield, Nevada. 0.6, Mammoth Lakes. 0.4, Mammoth Lakes. 2.2, Round Valley. So that's a larger one. 8.6 kilometers deep. 0.3, West Bishop. 0 at Mammoth Lakes. 0.9, Tom's Place, which is part of Mammoth Lakes. 0.3, West Bishop. 1, Tom's Place. 0.3, Mammoth Lakes. And 1.5, Round Valley. So those are picking up. Now let's go on down. We got minus 0.2, 0.7, 1.5 Trona, 1.0 Little Lake, 1.6 Coso Junction. Here's a 2.3 at Little Lake, 0.9 at Little Lake. Then here's a 1.1 Mojave. Then now we're going to go down into Southern California. Start down here at Mexicali. Progreso, Baja, 1.5, 0.9, 1.0, 1.4. Here's one out in the ocean, a 1.4 at Laguna Beach. 0.9 at Palomar Observatory. We've seen it in 0.6, the same place. We've seen that before. Okay, I saw that one. Now we're getting some clusters. A lot of clusters. Now look over here at Borrego Springs. We're getting a lot more in these little ones. See all these clusters? And then this is the Cahuilla area. And then so we're seeing some up here at Idlewild. So these are all in the same area. So I'm not going to call all these off. So in this whole Los Angeles area, there's 49. So I'm just going to scroll down. We have under 1, and then it goes up into the 1s. So they're small, but it's still significant. Just because they're small doesn't mean they're not significant. Let's see if there were any 2.5 and higher in that region. And no, not down here, but there were further up the coast. Here was a 2.9 at Parkfield, California, right on that San Andreas fault line, and a 2.8 at Gonzales, California. So let's go back over to all magnitudes. Now let's come back up the coast. Did we see this one? 1.1 at Mojave, yes. I think we got all of those. Right, Little Lake. Okay. Right here, We've got 3 right here at Parkfield. So we had we showed the 2.9, which was the biggest ones. That's sizable. And then there was a 1.9, a 1.4, and a 1.3. And these were all within 5.7 to 6.8 kilometers deep. Then right up here, just north of that, was a 1.3, 6.8 kilometers deep. So we've got 3 right here, all clustered together, and then this other one right on that red line. So the 2.9 is getting up there. So we're seeing more right on this fault line. Here's a 1.3 at Pinnacles, 2.8 Gonzales. We saw that on the other map. Then the 1.7 Gonzales. So, you know, sometimes you'll have a big one and then some small ones that follow up. Here's a 0.5 Bautista. And 1.3 Columbia. I think we saw that one already. Then we saw this one at Orinda. And that's all. So let's see what's come in while we were doing our report, if there's anything big. Okay, I'm seeing too far out. Okay, right down here we had a 4.0 in the Dominican Republic, 136 kilometers deep. That's significant. And we just had this one, a 5.1 in the South Sandwich Islands, 10 kilometers deep. Let's zoom in down there. And we missed Hawaii. We got to go down there. So this is in the ocean. And we can see that it's on this red line. So that's, you know, when you see movement on one side of the plate, you're going to see movement show up somewhere else. So we saw movement over here, and now it's pushing things along. And so let's go up here to Dominican Republic. Look, this one happened on land at La Romana, Dominican Republic, 136 kilometers deep. That was big enough for people to feel. Now let's go over to Hawaii. Don't want to leave that out. We've got 10 in the viewing area here in Hawaii. One that just happened, a 1.7. These are in the ones and two. Here's the larger ones were 2.5 Volcano, Hawaii, 2.2 at Honana Napupu, Hawaii, 2.2 Volcano, Hawaii, and then the others were under 2s. So those are on land, it looks like. Yep, they're all on land. So that's still active. So I think that's it for our report today. Let me make sure nothing else major came in that I'm not aware of. Nope, we got everything else. So that's it for today, and I hope everyone's new year is going well, and I do believe that every day that we're here is one day closer to the end, and the end is coming soon. No one knows the day or the hour, and people want to know how to prepare, and the best way is spiritually. And I do recommend everyone get your spiritual houses in order. And my name is Margo, and until next time, God bless you, go in peace, and I'll talk to you real soon. Good night.